Hey, Addy. Well, I know I say this a lot, especially in relation to this series, but this is quite easily the most esoteric thing I've ever had to do for this. Because as it happens, I was looking through Moby Games, which is usually pretty good at being like going through and finding every single PopCap game, no matter the genre, no matter the time period. It turns out I missed one. It was a weird one, so it's no wonder I didn't find it until now, but if you're wondering what this is a Palm OS emulator. If you've never heard of Palm, uh, frankly, I don't blame you if you were born around the time that I was born, because I was born in the 2000s. The Palm Pilot originally, uh, the first version came out in 1996, I believe, and they're all technically they're precursors to smartphones. That I think the proper term is PDAs, like personal. I think it's like personal digital assistant, something like that. Portable digital assistant. They're mobile phones. They're like before flip phones, before smartphones. This was the first mobile computer, as it were. And I managed to get an emulator running for reasons that you'll see very shortly. It's going to take a second for this to load up. Ottawa. Blah, 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 blah. So this thing is basically a calculator. It is not powerful whatsoever. And I think before I jump into the games and the main reason why I even bothered to do this, let's go to the welcome screen. Just because this is really neat and it reminds me a lot of a DS calibration. And I chunked down the audio for this, but this is one of those things. It's J2ME had a very similar problem where it would just blow out the speakers. But this again, I can barely call this a console, but I guess console is the right word. It's got games, and it has a lot of PopCap games that were ported here back in the 2000s, including one that was only on Palm OS. And you know me, you know that I'm very anal about these things. If there is a PopCap game, I will find some way, God willing, to play and record it. So, let's play some Mars Needs Cows. So yeah, the sounds are awful. And that sounds even worse. I have audio chunked down on my end. I also have the gain turned down quite a bit. And if you can still hear it, I apologize. If it's still super loud, there's not much I can really do about it. Let me actually ban the game. Let's start on easy, and then we can go up to average difficulty after a while, and then hard. I don't think I'll even be able to do hard. The hard ones are very, very challenging. But this is a very interesting case. This game was actually made by it was a collaboration between PopCap, and I think PopCap did the bulk of the coding work on these, as we'll see with some of these later games. But it was also done by Astroware. Astroware seems to have done the bulk of the porting for a lot of these. Because there was a span of like 12 to 14 games that were all by Astroware, and the fun thing is, Astroware is still in business. Surprisingly. So, the way that the DRM works in these games is that you have to have I believe there is a Astra ID, and then that ID is like, essentially that ID is hashed into a password that you have to enter when you're starting any of these games. I believe if I go into options, yeah, there's the option to register. Now, what I ended up finding is the reason why it has no hotsync ID displayed there is because I looked online and I found that there's just a debug like catch-all ID that anyone can use to get full access to these games. And again, this is falling into the legal gray area a little bit, but the fact that I was even able to get this emulator running is a goddamn miracle. So I am fine skirting the legality a little bit, considering that I'm surprised I was even able to get this console running. I'm surprised that I can even call it a console, frankly. I kind of wish there was more to this game, but this was also a really, really early PopCap entry. This was still back in the days of, even the super, super early ones. It was back in the days of, like, Alchemy and Bejeweled and Seven Seas, where, like, just the fact that they made games that were half decent in this era is still kind of a miracle. And at this level of quality as well. It doesn't really shine through in this one. This one's a little bit more weird and crusty. But, I mean, you're seeing the processing power here. This is not a... I'm basically playing this on a TI-84 calculator. Not the fancy graphing calculator kind, like the ones that... The ones that are solar powered and probably... would probably struggle to run anything. But they somehow managed with this one. So, and I have nothing but respect for them for being able to do that. I also did that wrong. Oh, it's 2 picks. I read that wrong. I thought that was 2 sheep. Got it. Okay. There we go. Then 1, 2, 3. But even here, you can still see the hallmarks of this genre. It is still absolutely fascinating, even if this is barely a video game. Like, relatively simple rules, like priding themselves on the quality of the game rather than the complexity. There's like they've got the ranks as well. Admittedly, this is a weird example of this kind of game, but all the hallmarks are still there, which is kind of incredible. The funny thing is, even this lags, and I don't know what amount of that is because it's an emulator and what amount of that is because it's, you know, it's got the processing power of a potato battery. Putting it politely. But all the same, this is, like, this... I know I've said this, like, 4 times at this point, but I do genuinely mean it this time. This is the last game that I have never played that is a unique PopCap game, with the sole exception of Allied Star Police. Allied Star Police is the last one on the docket. That is not a re-release or has some other like weird, unique history. This is the last unique one we're gonna get, which is amazing. Now that doesn't mean that we're at the end of the end of the trail. In fact, like not even close. There's still a lot of stuff that I have to do, including fashioning some kind of end product from this. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that I think I am going to do more of like a blog post style instead of a video style. It's more of, it fits my content a little bit better to be more verbose with it. And I've never been huge on video essays to begin with, so doing a video essay wouldn't really do me any favors. I've always been more of a fan of blabbing myself, but I can blab in video form or in text form. It doesn't really matter to me at the end of the day. Oh, I think we did it. New high score. Fun fact, by the way, this tablet down here at the bottom, let me actually give you just a second to enable, it's not in filters, it's in properties. Capture cursor. So, this is actually a, if you've ever played a game on the DS, this kind of system might look familiar. I forget how you do this. Yeah. Oh, Polka. Poke. There's a very weird process for like inputting letters and inputting numbers. I think nah, but it's not going to show if I do this. Poondade, good enough. I'll do the average game for a little bit, and then I'll do the hard game for a little bit, and then we'll move on. And these are slightly more real puzzles. To be blunt, I'm not actually sure. I'm not even that sure how to do these, because push block puzzles are, well, they're quite tricky. I think I have an idea. But we also only have 9 moves, which might restrict my options a little bit. Maybe this? No. Hmm. What happens if you run out of moves, I wonder? Mission critical, you've used up all of your moves. Ooh. Use a life to show the solution. Okay, let's see how this works. I was overthinking it like crazy. Okay, cool. Oh, that's... I didn't even realize that was an electric fence. What's what's with the robot? The robot, I assume, can do the electric fence no problem. Hmm. Interesting. I wonder what the settings are. Oh, I see. These seem to be the bog standard for Palm OS games. There's that option for volume, silent, quiet, loud. Game difficulty. I actually didn't know that was a toggle. Speed, slow, normal, or smokin'. And display. Display, I think, is also bog standard. I'm curious about. I'm curious about speed. Whoa. The hell is slow then? What's the lowest setting? Oh no. That's pretty dire. Yeah, no, we're putting that back on normal speed. Yeah, I think what I'll do. Abandon game. And I'll show off hard game. I'm probably not going to be able to solve this one because these are very challenging. But it is worth a shot, I suppose. Because something else I do want to show is that there are interactions between them. So the fox will eat the chicken. The hunter will also shoot the fox, I believe. Yeah. This inevitably turns into a like wolf and lamb and cabbage kind of puzzle. But I'm wondering how you would even do this one. Is there an option? There doesn't seem to be an option to show the solution. I guess if I... Oh, yeah. There we go. Show the solution. What do you do here? Oh, okay. So the non-animals have no problem. The non-animals and also the fox, for some reason, have no problem with not being stupid and walking directly into it. Interesting. But yeah, that is... I mean, that's that. The last thing I... Because the other thing I want to mention is, like, these, like... They kind of look like hotkeys, but not really. These are hotkeys. Abort mission, reset mission. It's just you would do a diagonal motion on the trackpad, and then you would write out whatever letter. So you would write out an A or an R or a U. I don't actually remember what the motion is to do any of those, but you could do it without opening up this menu. And then beam demo, I'm actually not sure what this is. Oh, beam. I thought that meant like the UFO beam. Okay, hang on. I might have to kill this and reset it. Hang on. No, stop doing that. Yeah, okay. I don't think it has a timeout. I might just have to reset this. Okay, one moment. Okay, there we go. Every time it doesn't save the resolution of the emulator, so every time I have to like very gingerly resize it so that it's the same size as before. So, before I move on, I kind of want to show off where is welcome. So, I already showed this before. This is like calibration stuff. Next, basic skills. Next. I really want to show off the way the pad works. Entering data. There we go. Graffiti writing is very cool. The graffiti writing area is divided into two parts, one for writing letters and one for writing numbers. If you draw the letters exactly as shown, you will achieve 100% accuracy. Begin the stroke as the heavy dot. Most characters are uppercase, written in a single stroke. And this just reminds me of learning cursive in elementary school. C, D, E, F. Like, you can see how this starts to become a little difficult. Like K, that is not a K. L, and then an M, and an N, and an O, and a P, and this is like barely a Q. That registered as an O, but I meant to do Q. R and an S, T, U, V, W, X. It does register X, okay. Y, Z. Okay, so I almost got it. And then to capitalize a letter, you like do a combination. You do like down for, oops, it's up, and then whatever the symbol was. And then you can do it twice for caps lock. And then the same logic for numbers. 2, 3, 4. The 4 is messed up. 8, and then 9. Now, thankfully, there's also just the option to open up the keyboard, which is very much more desirable. But it's also there if you want to do some graffitiing. So let me actually show off some of the rest of these games. I was tempted to do this in a different video, but I think I am just going to show all these off because I'm not really going to get a better excuse. So I say we just go back to front, and I guess to start with that, let's do Bejeweled first. And now we see our two usual suspects, PopCap Games and Astroware. And I have to say, this one is shockingly responsive for what it is. Like, you saw how weird and sluggish that previous entry was. The fact that this is, like, kind of responsive is a miracle. But I mean, that's what it says in the tin. This is just Bejeweled. This is the original Bejeweled. No strings attached. I do eventually want to go out of my way to play more of these because the ones that I have loaded currently are all the ones that work on this version of Palm OS, and this is going to sound familiar. There were newer versions of the Palm OS, of the Palm like Pilot OS version, and there were some games that were only made for those newer versions. So I believe there was Zuma, Insane Aquarium, Bejeweled 2. I forget what else. I think that's all of them. I think there was Chuzzle as well. But yeah, those games do still exist. It's just I can't actually play them with this current version of Palm OS, so I'll have to go back and do a sequel version of this at some point. But all the same, I'm so shocked and impressed by how well this manages to run. And in fact, if I go into the game's options, the sounds, the speed, that's fairly standard from the looks of it. There's also the option of gems, standard, or enhanced. Let's try enhanced. Oh my god. I actually didn't do this before. And this strikes me as it's a very NES era thing of like an NES Super Nintendo era thing of we're not entirely sure if this feature works, so we're putting it in a menu, we're locking it behind a cheat code. So that the only people who are doing it are the people who recognize that it is probably going to be broken. Or not like up to our standards. But this is so damn cool, man. And there was actually two sets of options. So that's why I was surprised, because I was looking at the wrong setting before. Actually, I kind of like this. I like this look a little bit more. I like it when the colors aren't as washed out. In tweak settings, there was something that caught my eye. That there's economy mode, which I assume that means like power saver mode essentially. A gem landing noise, there's the option between the click that we were hearing or system click, which is a lot more like, yeah, it's a lot more like rough. And then gem fall, this is the interesting one. There's just the option to have them all fall as one. So, like, the fact that they went out of their way to make sure that that was a feature is still really damn cool to me. Like, even back in these days, they were still thinking about the polish. And that is, I mean, maybe it goes without saying with how much I've gone on my way for these. I do look up to these developers very highly for the black magic that they were able to do. It's nothing short of incredible. Oh yeah, something else I need to mention is continuous mode. Oh shit, actually, I should do this now before I forget. There was also MNC, there was... I didn't look at the About page. Yeah. Mars Needs Cows version 1.0.1.05, copyright 2000-2001 Astroware. And let me actually pull up that web page, because that give me a second, because that web page actually does have information on it. One moment. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I do think it's interesting, some of these talking points. Cute animated graphics, a comic style, color or grayscale versions available, a built-in tutorial, difficulty settings, high score charts, ranks, 2,000 unique levels, support for additional level packs, which I actually wasn't aware of. I don't know how on earth you would be able to take advantage of that, but that is an option. And let's see, Astroware products. Okay, this is what really caught my eye, was like finding this website, going on it, and then realizing, wait a second, I recognize a lot of these. Not only is there Alchemy, Atomica, Bejeweled, Big Money, like I'm seeing PopCap games in here, I'm also noticing Collapse, the series by Gamehouse, back when they were first getting their start. I see Mars Needs Cows, Mummy Maze, Noah's Ark, surprisingly. I was not able to find this one, but I'm going to keep looking to see if I can. Seven Seas. And I swear I also saw Tip Top as well, like the one that was made by PopCap Games in collaboration with, I believe, ASAP Games, LLC. I don't know what their current status is. I'm going to assume that they're out of business at this point. This was the early 2000s. We're now we're coming up on the 25th anniversary of some of these. I do like this note at the bottom. You may not reverse engineer, decompile, or disassemble this software. But yeah. Well, let me tab back over. Credits, and I forgot to mention this as well. Credits to Hamish Graham and Larry Died, who seem to have, I think Hamish Graham worked on this one, and I think one other game, and Larry Died also worked on a couple of Astroware products, but I don't know if they worked on any of other of the PopCap ports. And the game concept by PopCap.com. Way back in the day. So let's move on from here. We already did Bejeweled. I should probably do the rest of the stuff in Bejeweled. So let's go to about Bejeweled. Version 2.0, October of 2002, surprisingly. So this was one of the later ones. Astroware, copyright 2000 from PopCap. Credits Howard Tomlinson, David Oakley. I'm not going to hit that support button because it's probably going to try and connect to the internet and brick it again. But let me do a new... Okay, new game, just going to do that. Is there a way to... Abandon? Is this it? Yeah, this must be it. There's also the option for timed mode. And this also works identically to how it worked in classic Bejeweled. Where instead of having you can no longer run out of moves, but now there's also a timer ticking. Oh my god, that was lucky. And I may as well I think I'm going to do this one until I end up dying. It shouldn't take too long, because I'm not amazing at Bejeweled. Like, I'm good enough. I'm good enough that I considered making my own Bejeweled game, and that is currently in the works, I suppose. But I'm no wunderkind. There's only so far I can go with this. Ooh! Right, because it just refreshes the board if it has no moves left. Because later Bejeweled entries had an algorithm set up so that it would always find a move. These early ones didn't have that. They just had a way to check whether there were no moves. But I'm still I'm so excited for what I will eventually make out of this. I think, again, I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be a video or if it's going to be a series of blog posts. I'm leaning towards blog posts right now because I'm starting to realize I'm more comfortable with that. But I might do both. I'm still going to hold myself to doing the Guppy's Tale equivalent to the blog post that I already did. Though I ended up doing the blog post and immediately realized that I liked that better. So that'll probably be the norm. Man. Making matches of more than 3 just isn't quite as satisfying here as it is in the newer ones. No special gems, no extra bonus points. You get a little bit extra. I feel like this is a losing battle. I'm not gonna be able to make back the time. Unless I get another ridiculous combo like I did before. Alright, I'm taking my hands off the controller. Holy mother, take me. That's fun. And the last thing that I want to show, again, is that continuous mode. Because as it turns out, there's a mode in here that is, to my understanding, the very first version of Zen mode in one of these games. where there is absolutely there's no way to lose. If you run out of moves, it just refreshes the board. It is just pure zen. You can play as much as you want to your heart's content. Nothing will ever kill you. And I have to wonder, because if I go and look up Bejeweled 2, Bejeweled 2 was released, what year was that? 2004, yeah. This was made 2002. So this very well might have been the first version of this idea. Which is wild to think about, because it became such a staple of the other games. And if this truly is where the idea got its start, or where it first, I suppose where it first appeared, then that's super, super fascinating. And even if it isn't where it got its start, it's still so cool that it pops up here. But yeah, there's not much else to really say about this. This is going to keep going on forever. So I suppose we can move on from here to one of the other ones. Next on the docket, let's do Alchemy. Oh, and I have to register this, so you guys get to see the code. I have it pulled up off to the side over here. It is 78 capital T-O 3 capital V 74. Oh shit. Okay, hang on 1 second. Alright, crisis averted. Fun fact, there's actually a page on the Astroware, the official Astroware site, where you can punch in your Astra ID and it'll actually give you the registration code for any game. So that's like that works. Let's hop back over to the Palm and punch in that code, and the code was, let me get rid of the old one. Code was capital BQ7JV444. What? Come on, man. Okay, fine. I will just play this normally. And then let's see these game settings, because I might not have too long to work on this then. Display tiles as the letters and numbers. I actually have not tried this one, so that's really interesting. Weird. So you can play this more like proper dominoes. I've never even considered looking at this game like this. That's so cool. Is there an A? Let's do A here, because I don't want to clear this line just yet. 3G, 3C, 2 will have to go here. 3G, 1F. That is so weird. I've never even considered that as a possibility. I've also seen that some of these have music, but it's very rare for the games that are this early on to have music. Hmm. Right, and I have to use... Oh, you can discard tiles. Okay. I was concerned for a moment. But this does make things much more interesting. there any G's? Are there any doctors in the house? There you go. There's nothing that can go there. We'll have to deal with that eventually. One of these days I need to remake that Alchemy player, because that is still one of the coolest projects I've worked on. And to have it, like, produce results that were actually, like, kind of exactly what I was hoping for, which normally doesn't happen, admittedly. As much as I love coding, sometimes coding is just throwing shit at a wall and hoping it sticks, and if it doesn't stick, you brush yourself off and you go and do something else. And then twos. One C. It's gotta go there. But even now, it's so... The concept of, like, making an algorithm to solve one of these is still so captivating. Like, I've already tried that before. I already know how it ends. But it's still really cool. And this one in particular is a weird case, because it is just dominoes. But it's still so captivating even then. Because, as it happens, dominoes is kind of fun. It's not the most fun thing in the world, but, like, given the competition at the time, still pretty damn cool. Okay, yeah, I think one board is fine, and I can swap back to classic the classic alchemy runes, and then abandon game. Let's see what the about screen is. Howard Tomlinson, David Oakley. Let's try out one hard game and then I'll move on. This, I don't foresee this going well, but I'm doing slightly better than I was expecting, just slightly. I never considered the strategy of bunching before, but it's working surprisingly well. You just take all of a specific kind of tile and just bunch them all in one place. Because the rules for overflow are surprisingly lenient. And you can seemingly let yourself get saved by overflow and random chance. And you can do this for quite a while. You can let yourself get saved by the occasional metal blocks. But I fear this is going to cause problems very shortly. Because I'm running out of space to put shit. It's not like Tetris, I can't just pocket something for later. As soon as something pops up, I have to use it. I'm just gonna let overflow kill me. There we go. Alright, we can move on from here. And let's move on to Atomica. Another game, another super early game from this collection. And this one has the same... Weirdly enough, it's got easy and hard. I don't believe the original one did. No, I think it did, actually. Because there was like there's like action and strategy modes, essentially. And then game settings. Let's go with fast. Because I don't think that affects the new tiles spawning in at all. And then about. Hamish Graham, Lawrence Dye, David Oakley. Let's start with an easy game. And you might notice that the sounds are extremely similar because they're not working with much here. The fact that this thing has sound at all is a miracle. I kind of wish this one had there was this really neat feature in the deluxe version of Atomica where you could put the different tiles in unique formations and they would spawn special tiles, but I I imagine that was slightly outside of the wheelhouse of this system. I actually don't know if that well, I guess that had already been thought of because the Atomica Deluxe also released in the early aughts. It's like the lead time was pretty short. All the same, the system is like just powerful enough to do the like A-star calculations and shit for the pathing. So I imagine they didn't want to push it. And again, the fact that it looks this good is shocking. There's definitely a sort of dance with this one. To not necessarily clean up the blobs as soon as they pop in, but to like build up combos so that you have more of a advantage. Because if you just keep placing them in as soon as the blobs spawn in, eventually you will just you will be overcome relatively fast. Especially if you make moves like that. But you can abuse the system a little bit by placing tiles where other tiles are supposed to go. There's also no biohazard in this version, though. I guess it's like this is a purely state-based game, so having a time mechanic like a biohazard wouldn't really fit. I suppose it makes sense why they dropped it. Ooh, that's bad. Oh, nice. Didn't even need to lift a finger. That was even nicer. Where did that even come from? But I think I will eventually just be overcome because I'm simply not going to have enough time to deal with the number of colors eventually. I think this is the point where I will be overcome. But I know it's not always right to romanticize the old days of game development because there were some major problems with the industry around this time. But you gotta hand it to these devs for like the sheer quality of this in spite of the platform and in spite of the game genre. Like it's such an interesting proposition in the modern eye of like, well, it's like their value proposition was just they made really good polished games. It feels like such an odd concept these days because even the AAA guys are so obsessed with the patchable game that it feels like a far cry to have a game like this where it's just, it's on a low-powered console, but it's really well crafted. Absolutely free of bugs, runs very well for what it is, very accessible for all audiences instead of pigeonholing itself into a specific target demographic. Like even indie games, as much as I love indie games, a lot of them do end up trapping themselves in the pit of these are games designed by gamers for gamers. That's why something like Balatro was able to find so much success, perhaps unwittingly so, because it wasn't trying to be that. It was just trying to like make a game, make it very polished, and release it to a wide audience and see what people thought of it. And as it turns out, people really liked it. Don't like this at all. I think I'm cooked. All right. Well, that actually went way further than I was expecting it to. Top score is 2,000. Oh my god. Excuse me. Taking a sip of tea. I might have to get up at one point and go get water because I haven't been talking for a while. Let's do time trial and then we'll move on. Oh, weird. So this isn't like the other version. The other version, to my memory, was like slightly different. The other version was it would just add the balls on a timer. This seems more like the Bejeweled time trial mode, where it's like all the normal rules are the same, but instead of reaching a certain point threshold without running out of moves, you just have to beat the clock. This is way more stressful. Oh my god. Am I going crazy or you? It doesn't seem like you can win. You can just cap off the timer. So this is. Am I to believe then that this is just the normal mode with a gimmick? I don't think you can. I don't think this is much different than the normal strategy mode. It's just also there's a time limit. They did love these tile based games, didn't they? Noah's Ark was also a tile based one that used a Very similar pathfinding mechanic. And I gotta say, after like implementing that thing from scratch for the Pearls project, nothing but respect, because the recursive algorithms are annoying to implement. So the fact that they were able to do it with such grace is excellent. Okay, this is. I feel like this is gonna go on forever if I'm not too sloppy with it. Excuse me. Okay, if it's alright with y'all, I'm just gonna move on. Because we've already seen the game over screen. We already know what happens when you lose. Let's move on to big money. High scores, game. Oh, interesting. There's game settings, there's also effect settings. Remove unused resources. I seem to remember there was music that I imported for this game, but I don't know if it's actually going to work. Doesn't seem like it. I think that's only a feature that is with newer versions of Palm OS titles. Ooh, there's actual instructions for this one. Big money is really easy to learn. Big money is really easy to learn to play, but getting good at it takes practice and skill. Start a game and you will see several rows of coins of different colors and different patterns. On grayscale machines, look for a group where 3 or more of the same type of coins are touching. Tap on one of those coins and the... Oh, I see. Tap on one of those coins and the whole group will pop out of sight and you'll get some points, and the meter on the left of the screen will go up. The bigger the group, the more points. You have to keep selecting the groups to get the meter to reach the top. But don't wait too long for the next match or the meter will fall back to the bottom. Okay. When you remove a group, any coins above them will fall down, and if you manage to remove a column, the remaining columns will move in to fill up the gap. All the time while you are looking for groups, new coins appear in the row at the bottom of the screen. When that row is fully appeared, it gets pushed up into your play area. Okay, yeah. I've played Big Money before. These sound effects. Oh my god. I was not expecting the Big Money guy himself. Was that an attempt at the Big Money, like, the music? I heard like some bleep bloops. Okay, this got really hard really fast. Oh, interesting. Right click and left click do the exact same thing. Because the concept of a right click on mobile did not exist at this point. It was all just a tap. Oop. Accidentally clicked outside the window, I think. Minimum wage slave. Good to see that the goofy rank names are back. I really hope the clicking is not picking up on the mic, and if it is, I apologize. There's not much I can really do. Ah. Oh my god, it does the thing! It does, like, the spider solitaire thing. I love that. Fry Cook of the Month. So now if I do the normal and hard, what actually changes? Is it just faster? Seems like it's faster. It's just faster and immediately starting with 3, or with immediately starting with 4 instead of 3. Okay, that's interesting. Abandon game. Let's try hard. Oh, I see. The money requirements are going up too. I'd be shocked if I even made it through one level of this. Cause like I was doing great combos, but that's just because the level had just started. This visual is frying my brain a little bit. Okay, yeah, let's move on. We've got 2 left. I'm gonna save Mummy Maze for last. Let's do 7 Seas next. Yes! Awesome. And then animate whirlpools. I want whirlpools to be animated. Let's do fast speed. Let's do an easy game and hope that the hot sync ID works. If not, it's no big deal. Let's try the other one, and maybe the other one works. BQ7 JV 444. Okay, that one worked that time. This one feels significantly easier than the deluxe version. I don't know why, because the mechanics are completely identical to my understanding. Words. That sound effect is crazy. Nah. I had a really good run of this the other day, but I'm not able to replicate it, seemingly. Oh, right, in hard game, yeah, it throws you straight to the wolves here. You immediately get the pirate bosses, you immediately... The whirlpools will immediately start disappearing. These are mechanics that usually take a couple levels to start happening. Here they do not care. I have to wonder how many of the mechanics actually carry over from the deluxe version, because there's also like sea monsters, I believe. There's like sea monsters, and there's like a Minesweeper-esque bonus mini game. There's like the game's got mechanics. Nah. Didn't seem like there was anything interesting in here. Controls. Ooh. So there is an undo button. Sound setting, register, instructions. About, yeah, 2004. This was a relatively late one. And then we got one more Mummy Maze, which is exactly what it says in the tin. It's just Mummy Maze. Whoa, there's a lot of options here. And the game over screen can either pop up or slide up. Just gonna go right into it with the other one. Okay, that one worked. Cool. And it works just like actual Mummy Maze does, which is kind of crazy. It was interesting. This is like it's a gimped version of Mummy Maze because in original Mummy Maze, I believe a it was a preset set of levels. Here, it looks like it's just the same. It's like a random pool instead. Oh, interesting. So that counts as a game over. I was actually right with that. Okay. Just have to okay, I have to bring him over in the other direction. And then over into that copy. Okay, and then you can leave. Excuse me. That is so cool. But yeah, that's all of them. I will probably come back to this at some point to show off the rest of the Palm OS games, but no promises on when. I gotta make sure that that all works. But yeah, this has been a ton of fun. That's all I got for now, though. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this.